Hello, everyone, and welcome to our National Authors Day celebration. I'm so excited to be a part of it all. You know, we have over 100 authors participating in this, and I'm glad you're here to share this special day with us. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Authors Marketing because they do a fabulous job. It's actually Authors Marketing Guild. And special thanks to Alan Bourgeois for organizing all of this. If you are not familiar with the Authors Marketing Guild, I really encourage you, especially if you're hoping or an author and you're not a member, to check it out because, you know, I've belonged to a lot of different organizations, and I'm here to tell you they do the best in helping me understand how to market and how to even understand as a new author how to move forward and get my books out there. So hats off again to Authors Marketing Guild and welcome to my session. I'm Diane Floyd Boehm, a children's author, and I'm excited to share today with you. We're going to go over several things, but mostly I hope that I get questions from you and I can be of some assistance to help you in some way or another. And most likely I'll be learning from you as well. So let me give you a little bit of background. My background is education. I graduated from George Mason University. I'm very proud of that. They're in Fairfax, Virginia. And yay to those teachers, because I would not be here today without the inspiration that they gave me to move forward in my educational life. There are so many amazing teachers. A couple of them actually kept saying, you need to be a writer, you need to be a writer. I was like, what? So I wish I could find her and let her know she was right because I am enjoying it. I have 3 children and an incredibly fabulous husband. We've been married for over 40 years and he's put up with me, and I guess I should say vice versa, but we have traveled the world, and I feel extremely blessed. I have 5 brothers, so that gives me a lot of ideas to write about when you're the only girl and you have 5 brothers, and to an amazing dad and mom. So I always taught elementary school. And I started off as a classroom educator, and I moved into computers. I was in the Philippines at the time, actually. And believe it or not, Steve Jobs sent his first set of computers to the American school in the Philippines, and we teachers were the guinea pigs so he could learn about how we might use them. Needless to say, I never dreamed that working with these Apple IIe's would change my whole life and approach in education. And from there, one thing led to another, and eventually I became a computer director and curriculum director in a private school in Austin. But the one thing that I have in common the whole time that I was teaching, whether it was preschool, kindergarten, or elementary, and eventually all the way up to 8th grade as a curriculum director and computer teacher, was storytelling. It didn't matter what age they were. I always wanted my students to come in together and know when they were in my classroom, we were a family and we worked together, we learned together, and we had to be kind. So storytelling always took place at the beginning of the classroom so that everyone would become one. Arguments had to stay outside, and we had to be kind to one another. Even if you didn't like them, you had to learn to like them and work together. So I take great pride in that. And I hear from my former students who are all grown up now that it was one lesson that they really enjoyed was learning to work together. So I'm so glad of that. And that leads into how storytelling eventually I decided that I needed to put a bunch of my stories to paper and make them come to life in a new way. And that's how I ended up becoming an author. Now, I was first doing the original route, which we'll get into when we start talking about publishing. But I wanted to share with you that when I decided to become an author, I thought, okay, if I'm going to put these down and I have a million stories, you know, where do I begin? What do I do? And then I decided that I needed to think of a common purpose. And so I decided my common purpose needed to be about imagination, being kind to one another, and liking people even if they're different. And I know that's a huge common theme right now, but it was a theme that I adapted almost 25 years ago. Part of that was my upbringing and my parents. Kudos to them, because they said it didn't matter if you're green, yellow, polka dotted. It's what the person was and how kind they were and what words came out of their mouth. You know, they had the philosophy that the tongue is sharper than the sword. And so that's something I decided to really bring to life was kindness, hope, faith, love, and joy. So that's what my books are about. So it took me a long while to get published, but I have 4 books published now through OC Publishing, which is outside of Canada. And Anne O'Connell is the owner. And I feel, again, very lucky that she picked up my books and has worked tremendously in teaching me a lot about publishing and what goes on with it. And her step-by-step of helping us authors is just truly amazing. I have one book here. I've given several books away because I'm actually not in my home state or my home. I'm actually in a hotel because we just had the birth of our first grandchild. And so we are visiting, and we've waited a long time for that. So I'm so excited. But I have this one book left here, and it's The Little Girl in the Moon, and it's Moxie in Taika Town. And actually, my youngest daughter is the illustrator for this particular book. It is the 3rd in the series of the Little Girl in the Moon adventures. Now, there's something special that I'm going to share with you where we're moving forward in the Moonling adventures. Then I have Harry the Camel. And Harry the Camel, he lives in Dubai. And what I wanted to do was keep my theme of loving one another and differences and no bullying and things like that. But I wanted to give back to Dubai because I lived there for 14 years with my husband, and he helped with a law firm there and in Saudi Arabia. And Dubai is a wonderful place to live. People from all backgrounds and cultures and so forth live together in harmony. And I really, really wanted to leave one of my stories with them and the kiddos, because I was in a lot of their schools, and the schools are pretty amazing. And so Harry the Camel, and Harry the Camel was illustrated by a beautiful artist named Yoshita, who is from Sri Lanka, but she also lives in Dubai. And she's not only known for her illustrating, my book was her first children's book to illustrate, but she's also a very famous artist in her own country as well as in the UAE. So that's where you get Yoshida. Now, I'm one of these believers when it comes to illustrations, and I did some of my own illustrations. I started taking art classes and decided that no one really understands my imagination, so I'm going to figure out how to draw and paint. And so no one can just sit there and draw and paint. But Yoshida was actually the first teacher that I had as an adult that taught silk painting. And I fell in love with silk painting and really got the confidence that I could illustrate. And then from there, I took from another famous French artist, and she's incredible too. And so that opened up a whole new world for me. Now, I'm a believer that not every book has to be illustrated from the same person, that there's a flavor and a color that you might want in one particular book that really doesn't fit with this new book that you've come up with. So, you know, I might illustrate it, my daughter might illustrate it. I'm looking at another illustrator for a book in the future, and then there's Yoshita. So I'm also all about giving opportunities to other people who wish to be illustrators and they really don't know how to get started or do it. And I feel like if I've been blessed, I want to be able to bless others as well. And illustrating might be an answer to opening doors for other people's dreams. So I've gone that way as well. Now, books in the future, do you just stop there? Well, for some people, and I share with them that I meet, you don't feel like if you don't have a story, it will come. But you know, for some people, they just want to get a couple of their stories out and they're happy and they just go on with life. For me, my mama said I came out singing and talking, and so I have a million stories along with a million ideas. So I do have some things in the works. And before I became published through sort of the OC Publishing, I started to go the traditional route with some very well-known companies and working with an agent. It took so long in the process, and we could almost do a movie for everything that happened in that regard, but I decided to go this route, and it's a route that I'm extremely pleased with. But because of that, I have so many stories written. They need to be fleshed out and cleaned up, but I've decided that that's what I'm working on now. So I'm putting together a short story collection. There'll be a short story collection of holidays, a short story collection of all kinds of things that have taken place, and just fun little stories. And I'm also working on my very first pre-young readers chapter book that is just really fun, and it's Charlie and the Tire Swing. So there, you learned something new. No one else has heard me say those words out loud today, but I am very excited about that. And my Christmas stories have been written. And it's Sarah Jane's Christmas Wish is the first one. And Sarah Jane, she's had lots of adventures. And so those stories, I'm working with the editor on them right now as well. My most exciting one that has really taken a lot of learning process to understand historical fiction. And boy, do I ever have now such admiration for people who do historical fiction. I'm in my 6th year of working on this book, and I have the stories written. The first book is with the publisher, and we're very close to releasing that one. We're just working on what the title actually will be, but it's based on my grandmother Ruby's life. And she was such an inspiration to me. But I also feel like in this day and time that we people in the world need more inspiration, and it's just lovely to hear what women did who were born in the 1920s and their struggles and working on how to get to go to college and what to do, and will I go to college or will I just get married, and not let you know anything that actually took place in that story yet. You'll have to wait till we do a big release of the book, which is coming soon. So that one is just amazing, and I'm actually going to give my mother the first copy because it's her mom. And so that it's just, I can't tell you how excited I am. It's so many years of work. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to do so. The only other thing I wanted to share before I start answering any questions is publishing. It's one thing that a lot of people ask me about, why didn't I go the traditional route? And again, that is a story all in itself, but I just want you to know the way I did it with OC Publishing is exciting because it's sort of a partnership. I do all the writing, and she makes all the magic happen to getting the layouts, making sure it's all set for printing, etc. And so I don't have to worry about all that detail work. I just have to make sure that I clean up anything she needs cleaned up. Sometimes she does a little bit of the editing, but mostly it goes to an editor. So it's a process, and it's one that I'm very pleased with. And then she works with a company called Ingram that gets it all printed out. And the great thing about that is all my books can be in any store around the world. And so that is very exciting. So I have my books in bookstores in Dubai, since I live there, and at Magrudy's. And then I've been able to meet with different people in England and start getting books there, as well as here in the United States. So I feel very blessed, and hopefully my books will continue to grow in other markets as well as the markets that they're in. So that's what it's all about. And I'm going to put a friend up here that I know that has some questions for me. So I'm going to share the stage. It's just 1 second and she'll pop in. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Diane. So glad that you're available this morning to talk with us.
Well, I'm glad to have you here too, and to have you actually on. This is actually a program, so it'll be recorded live, and so I'm happy to take any questions and happy to actually share part of the stage with you and let you share some of your story with us.
Well, I'll just say I'm primarily a nonfiction writer and a nonfiction author. My book is out in, as of this week, all the formats. That is, it's a paperback, a hardback, an ebook, and an audiobook. I just launched the audiobook last night. So while all that has been going on, I've been writing my second book, which is in your genre. It's a children's book. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the only children's book I'm going to write. It's actually started as a book that I wrote for my son when he was small. And I wanted to have just a personal book for him, just his book. And I tried to get someone to illustrate it, and I couldn't find anyone. So it never really went anywhere, except for me reading him the text. But here we are. I won't tell you. He's 28 years old. I'll put it that way later. And I decided to fictionalize the book, change it, and get it published. So that's what I've been working on.
That's good for
and
you.
Yeah, it's been interesting. And for me, I tell you, so far the biggest challenge has been that I wrote the text, and then I hired an illustrator, and he had the text, so he knew what he was drawing to. But what I didn't realize until after he'd finished his illustrations was that his illustrations didn't leave any room to put the text on the page.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we have been struggling with figuring out how to get the text on those illustrated pages.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to me that you said your illustrator is from Sri Lanka, because this particular illustrator is in Sri Lanka. That's where he lives. And so he's been very, very good in doing changes when I asked him to, or sometimes he didn't quite get the idea I was trying to convey. So he would redraw something for me. He's been very good about that, but it wasn't until I was satisfied with the illustrations and he turned them all over that I realized we had this issue about text placement. So I've learned something about that.
Yeah. And we can talk more about that. But I will say to you and to others, text placement is very interesting. My daughter, Catherine, what she was really good about doing was some of her illustrations that were longer, and I didn't want like a centerfold, so to speak. She would have the picture on one side and then just wrap in the background, real light the other part, and then showcase the text that way. I don't know if that'll help or if that makes sense to you, but it tended to work. Let me see if I have one example in this book by chance. No, let's see. Well, on this one, what we did was, see, she wrote, let's see there, she did a full page, and then over here we did the text. Is that how you're doing it?
No, I have illustration and text on every page. I mean, one of the things I did was, first of all, I feel like I've been at a disadvantage because libraries are closed and bookstores have been closed for a lot of the last 8 months, I guess, more or less.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to go and just sit in a library like I would have liked to have done and looked at children's books.
Mm-hmm.
I did go into a couple of bookstores that I managed to find open and look at their books. And I eventually went on Amazon and just bought books similar to the, the same subject matter and have them here to look at.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been helpful, just to have those other children's books to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all different kinds of approaches, as you say. Some have the text on one side and the illustration on the other side. Some merge the text and illustration together. Some, have variations of these two. And some of them are really very, very beautiful. And the ones that I think are, for me, the ones that, not that I have a huge full collection, but what I have, the ones I like best seem to be the writer is also the illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
So then they can do whatever they want on the page. I had the issue of, I wrote, the illustrator illustrated, and then we have to merge the two together. And I had asked him, and he produced an illustration for every page.
Mm-hmm.
So, then do I throw out half of those illustrations and just put text on one page? No. I'm using all the illustrations and working out where to put the text.
Well, that's really kind of you. For the rest of you that are listening, that is definitely one great way to do it. Another person who, because in some places, not to get into it, but just, Americans are very good about reading to their kids and so forth. That doesn't always happen. And imagination for everyone is different in how we see things. And an artist could see something different than the author, which is why it is kind of fun to illustrate your own things. But when I've decided to set one piece of the work aside, I've used that for a gift or a t-shirt. So there's other ways that you can use that piece of art so it's not gone to waste. Another thing is, y'all might like this idea. I know I'm enjoying it. So I have framed every single one of my illustrations. So, and they're illustrated for a museum. And then I, before COVID, had lined up a couple of small museums that they could be showcased. Well, if you were to do that, and like what some authors are doing is they have the frame ready, and then they just slide different ones in so they don't have to have a million pictures framed. Just a little tip there. And then you can also have a little spot going and showcasing art that wasn't in the book. And people get a kick out of seeing things that aren't in the book, which was something I learned from reading about Walt Disney and some of his own works with Mickey Mouse. They didn't use all of Mickey Mouse. So that's something to think about in the future. Hopefully you'll write more than one children's book. It is a learning process, isn't it? So did you have any more questions for me that you might?
I can't, this is what I'm stuck on right now. And I'm almost finished. I'm hoping that I'll be launching this children's book in December, if everything goes. This December. I mean, I've got it. We're down to doing the cover now and completing the inside information. I'm waiting for my PCIP, if you know what that is. And I have to write the acknowledgments and that kind of thing for the back pages. But basically the book is done now. So I'm really not planning to write another children's book. It's not my area. It's just that I already had this book in my head for 28 years now, and I wanted to. And like you, I have a lot of ideas, but my ideas are not nicely in one genre. They are spread out all over the place. So, well, no, it's not, because you build an audience by specializing in one genre.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely correct, but it's nice to kind of build upon the other two, which is definitely a conversation on another conference all by itself. I had a small little chat over here, and someone asked me, and I'm actually going to let you talk about that for a moment if you don't mind. So I remember taking one of your classes and listening to you speak, and you made reference to the audio, and that got me really going. So I've downloaded, for everyone to know, this voice recorder and can go into my closet and so forth. But would you mind sharing, because you got a question how you're doing on that audio, and I'm going to step aside and just let you have the floor, okay?
Well, thank you. If you'd asked me last March if I would have turned my book into an audiobook, I would have said, are you nuts? No way. I'm a writer. I want readers. But a lot has changed over the last several months, and I had time to work on it that I normally would have been spending traveling. And I had funds, which I normally would have spent on travel, that I could dedicate to trying some new things. So the end result is I worked on turning my book into an audiobook, and also I've worked on turning my paperback into a hardcover. And so both of those are now out. The audiobook just launched last night. And as Diane was saying before, I didn't do it myself. I mean, I sourced out the things I'm not good at. And I get a lot of questions about that. Did you narrate it yourself? And the answer is no. I'm not a trained actress. I'm not a trained voice. And I'm definitely not a technical person. So I don't have the equipment. I don't have the know-how, technical know-how, how to put together an audiobook. But there's an easy way to do it, which is by going to a company that does these services, and the one I used is called ACX, and it actually is the company behind Audible. And when you do your book with ACX, your audiobook goes up on Audible and also on Amazon. So it's a good way to get your book marketed. There is a lot of technical stuff you have to know if you're going to produce an audiobook. You have to have the right microphone, you have to have the right studio or soundproofing, although interestingly, I've learned that a lot of people use a closet in their house because it produces the best audio. That's an interesting thing. You use your closet for a studio. But you still have to produce what they call finished hours. That is, you get paid on the basis of, or you pay if you hire a narrator, on the basis of how many hours it takes to read your book. But you can't just read the book straight through. You have to produce a book of a certain quality. And the quality has to be accepted by the company, in this case ACX. And they don't want to put out there a low quality product. So they have standards. And your audiobook has to meet their standards. And they review it, and they listen to it, and they make sure it's all okay. And that review process can take several weeks. And that's if they accept it. So I hired a narrator through ACX, and that's a whole process in itself. And then you just have to sit back and wait until your book is finally finished and you get to listen to it for the first time. And then you have to go through the process of marketing it, which I'm just now starting. And on my launch last night, I got a real laugh because the guy who inspired me to do an audiobook was talking, and he suggested that one big market that I'd never thought about was truckers. So now I have images of myself hanging out at truck stops and trying to sell my audiobook, which really that would be a new market for me. But anyway, as I told him and he commented, I realized that maybe my book should be an audiobook when talking with my son, because my son is not a reader. But he is just addicted to YouTube and to listening to podcasts and that kind of thing. So I thought, all right, there's a whole group of people who are not readers but do like stories, do like to listen. So maybe that's a market that's worthwhile pursuing. And that led me to forge ahead with trying to produce an audiobook. And really, I will say that I was mostly skeptical the whole way through. I was skeptical that anyone would want to hear an audiobook on my nonfiction book, which is a travel and guidebook to the Camino de Santiago. I was skeptical that any narrator would want to narrate this book. And I was just skeptical. And so the whole thing has been a really amazing and wonderful surprise to me. I had many people interested in narrating my book, and I've had people already buying my audiobook. And so, yes, I think I found a new line of work that I didn't really envision and wouldn't have envisioned had not COVID hit the United States. I mean, it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible disease. But the one thing it's forced me to do is stay home and work.
That was fabulous, and thank you for sharing that story. I just found that whole audiobook, so right, so fascinating, because so many people have asked me if I would be interested in narrating, and that's why I downloaded that software and have gone into the closet myself. But I'm so excited to hear about that company name. Would you mind repeating it?
It's just initials, so ACX.
Okay. Because, you know, if you're like me, I just want someone to do all that background stuff. And I don't mind reading a story. And if the story needs, you know, a little pizzazz and singing, you know, I can add all that. But it's that creativity part. So that's exciting to know, and I so appreciate you coming on and sharing that. So thank you. And where can people buy your book? And by the way, my husband's not in here, so I can say I'm buying your book for him for Christmas, because he's a biker. So I found everyone, anytime you can follow her, and maybe you can share how to follow you, and learn about this book and the travel, and it's very exciting. And I can see why truckers would want to listen to it, because you are inspiring. So how can people follow you?
So I have an author website, which is julieconnorauthor.com, and Connor is C-O-N-N-O-R. No E, no S, just C-O-N-N-O-R. Okay. julieconnorauthor.com. And then I also have my publishing company website, which is bayoucitypress.com. And on both those websites, you can get to my book and my audiobook and so forth. Now, my audiobook is available either you can go through Audible or through Amazon and get it. And it's brand new, so you can be one of the first to listen to it.
Well, that'll be fun to have. And since we're traveling to various states, Audible books are something that we both are enjoying very much. We're actually listening because we've been going to various parts in the north. You know, there were so many battlegrounds, so we're taking all the Audibles in. So very exciting. Well, thank you again, and I'm going to go answer this particular question. So thank you. That was just amazing, and appreciate it so much, Julie. So someone wrote to me, when do I write? Well, for authors, it's all different times when the inspiration hits them. For me, I have this rule: never watch the news when you wake up. It'll destroy my creativity. So, and I try not to watch the news, period, actually. I just want happy thoughts for a moment. So, but I mostly write as soon as I wake up. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up with an idea, and I have a paper and pen next to me, and I write that idea down. There'll be moments. So in one of my books called The Little Girl on the Moon, The Big Idea, I could not go back to sleep. And actually there was this tug of war going on in my brain, and it was like, you need to wake up, you need to write this down. I'm like, oh, just tell me the idea, and I'll go back to sleep. No, you got to get up and do it now. And it was like constant back and forth, and all I wanted to do was go back and sleep. But finally, I was like, okay. So I got up, and I'm here to tell you that within an hour and a half, that story was written. And of course, there was some editings and so forth that had to happen. But what made me get up was my inspirational person that I like to call angels was like, either you get up and write this story, or I'm going to go give it to someone else. And I'm like, bing, okay, I'm up. So morning time is generally the time I write. Every once in a while, it'll be afternoon. So especially when it comes to writing the historical fiction, because there's so much research that has to happen, and then I just have to set it all aside and go away and work in the garden or go for a walk or do something. And then something hits me, and then I go home and I either write the ideas down or I start working on the next chapter. And so that's when the writing happens for me. Some of my friends that are authors, they write in the middle of the night. They find that exciting, and then they go back to sleep, and then they're done for the whole entire day. So again, you just have to learn to listen, and you'll discover the time that's right for you. Let's see. Another thing is, what is the process of publishing? Well, I can only tell you the process for me. I write the story, and then there's a rewrite, and then there's a rewrite. And I'm so grateful to the website Grammarly, because it helps improve all my run-on sentences. And so yay for Grammarly. But then, of course, it still has to go to the editor. And I have this beautiful editor, and just our relationship's so incredible. And I found her through my publishing company, because my publisher said she could just stay busy all day long with just me, and she has a lot of other people to publish. So she gave me this incredible woman in California, and I just can't tell you how easy and inspiring she is to have. And then once I really have the story down, then it's going to the illustrator. And at this time, the new book coming out is, the illustrator is my youngest daughter, Catherine. She's a teacher and a tech person at Parsons University. She's now moving to Georgia, where she'll be at SCAD. And what I like about using Catherine is she does this detail that I can't do with the computer. So anything she draws, she can animate, and she can animate immediately. And so with some of my stories, I hope they become cartoons. And so we'll have that animation all ready to go. But again, I have a couple of other artists lined up for some other stories I've written, and or sketches for the short story collection. Then there's the layout person, and then but I turn all that over to OC Publishing, and she finds the perfect layout person for that particular book. With all her various authors, obviously she'll have layout people that can handle different styles. And for the cover of the book, it's generally always the same person who has illustrated the whole entire book for me. So that's basically how that works. And then once OC Publishing takes over and does all the background stuff, I just keep writing, and they take it over for all the magic from there. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see if we have another one. Okay, yes. I do believe that when it comes to marketing, there's different ways to market. I'm learning. I come from the generation where your parents told you it's not polite to brag. If you're good, people will find out about you. And if you brag, you're considered conceited. And so in today's world, with social media and everybody Instagramming and it's all about you, that it seems so foreign to me. And so there you have it. I finally joined in, and I'm just going to bring in, we have another person joining us. I'm just going to click and okay her, and I'll just let y'all meet her real quick. Everybody who you're seeing right now, this is my publisher. So your ears must have been burning because I was just bragging about you. So this is Ann O'Connell with OC Publishing. And since you're here, I just gave a thing on, a question was asked, what's the process? And I was telling them how you work the magic, and all of a sudden there you
Oh
are.
my goodness, look at that. Well, I'm sorry I was late because I was on Alan's Zoom.
Oh no, that's okay.
So I have to go. I have to be on Diane's.
So real quick for our authors, just do you mind doing a soundbite about OC Publishing? Because I just have been bragging about you, and now they can see that you are everything that I said.
I really am alive, right? And I should probably have your book out there, right? Or one of them anyway, covered there.
The one I just showed. There you go.
One of the other ones, anyway. Well, yeah, I wanted to be a little fly on the wall and also be here to support you and also the Authors Marketing Guild, because as you know, and also appreciate, I'm an author as well as a publisher. So the publishing company sort of started about 4 years ago, and you were actually my very first author that I worked with officially, and we've published 4 books together. And the process we follow is the same as a traditional publishing process, from the design and editing to the distribution. And the toughest piece, as any author knows, and if you're watching and you're an author can appreciate, and Diane appreciates, is the ongoing marketing. So if you follow Diane and you've been to the Story Garden and you get her newsletter, then you know that she has totally embraced this ongoing marketing challenge with the passion that that she exhibits in everything that she does. So.
Thank you. You must have been a fly on the wall, because that's where I was going, was marketing.
Oh, good.
But before I go back to that and let you join the others, is I shared with them how OC Publishing, that we're sort of a partner in some ways, because can you just do a little soundbite on that?
Absolutely. Partner publishing is a hybrid between self-publishing and traditional publishing. Traditional, of course, is the publisher takes the manuscript and then controls everything moving forward, basically, and incurs all the cost of the publishing process. Self-publishing, the author takes on all of the responsibilities for the editing, the design, the publishing, etc. The hybrid of partner publishing means that the publisher, me, and the author, like Diane, work directly together through all of the steps of the publishing process, and there's a shared cost and a shared benefit. So that's sort of it in a nutshell.
You said that so much better than I, so I think you did that, so I'm so glad you're here. And if people want to get in touch with you, how may they reach you?
ocpublishing.ca or .com is the easiest way. There's tons of clicks to get a direct message to me or a direct email. So again, ocpublishing.com or .ca.
And CA, for you Americans, she does not mean California.
Oh, I'm in Canada. I'm the east coast of Canada.
Far away from California.
My office is global. As you can see, Diane is in the States, and we met in Dubai. I have an author right now living in Saudi. I have a few authors here in Canada. I'm just trying to think. They're kind of all over the place.
Great. Well, thank you. And of course, just another soundbite for all you people. Put a plug in for OC Publishing is Anne does these incredible retreats, and so that's the proper word, right? Retreats.
Writing retreat in residence annually in October, usually, because it leads up to November, which is National Novel Writing Month. For anybody who is not familiar with that, it's a 1 month, 30 days where authors are challenged to write 50,000 words. So I started the writing retreats in, oh my goodness, 7 or 8 years ago in Thailand, and then I've moved them to Canada, and we've just finished the 2020 Writers Retreat, Paradise Writers Retreat. So if anybody's interested, there's information on the website about that as well.
Okay, good. And I will say firsthand that the retreats are incredible, inspiring, and Halifax is just beautiful. So if you haven't been to that part of Canada, I highly recommend you do. Well, let me get to another question, and thank you for stepping in. And
oh, my pleasure.
Don't go away, because we might have more questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, so where I was going, and thank you, Anne, that was like the perfect timing, was marketing. So I had shared with you that it took me a while to embrace this whole marketing idea. But finally, my daughter said, Mom, you're just going to have to bite the bullet and do it. And so I did. And also with the encouragement of whom you just met, Anne. And it's like, hey, Diane, I'm going to show you some marketing things, but you need to really get into this. And so hopefully she's proud of me, because I've worked real hard to, as she said, develop newsletters. I have a thing called Shine, and I'm very proud of Shine, and I hope it grows. Shine is something that I believe that, again, I mentioned earlier, if you've been blessed, so I've been blessed because OC Publishing has enjoyed my writings and has published me, and I want to bless others as well. Whether it's maybe you think of funny tongue twisters, or you enjoy art, or you have a niece or a nephew, or even yourself, and you have pictures that you've drawn, and you just want to get them out there, but you don't want to have a publishing company. You can send in to me, and I usually have a theme for each month. And this one coming up in November, Shine, is things to be thankful for, and December will be giving. And I publish that in my Shine, and it's a separate letter. It goes out to the groups that are following me, and you become published, and it's free. It's a giving. It's what I want to do. So share that with your friends. Think about it for you, and I want to give you your moment to shine. I also have what's called Fun with Words, because I want people to realize that, so my tagline is embrace imagination, and there's all types of imagination and different ways that we use words to convey the imagination, whether it's writing, maybe it's through dance, but it's the music that might have helped with words that you're conveying your story. So storytelling can happen whether it's writing, dancing, acting, all kinds of genres. So when you sign up with Fun with Words, I work real hard to think of new ways that you can use words. I keep them small so that they're words that you might use in a story. Not all my followers are from English-speaking countries, so they really appreciate me doing homonyms. Homonyms just drive other people crazy, so I enjoy doing that. And then you have the ability to go to some of the websites I've selected that just share with some great imagination with dance or acting or whatever. So Fun with Words is just a nice, fun way for you to know that you're seeing quality sites and just have a moment to relax without a bunch of different ads going on in your face. So I do that. I've started learning Pinterest, and I now can make my own pins, which is very exciting, and covers, which is huge for me. And I do it with a software called Canva, and it's free. You can upgrade, and the upgrades are great, but I'm not quite at that level to do that, but I really appreciate them. I also believe that you need to join different groups and meet people and network. And of course, for me, networking is easy because I just love people. So I want to hear all of their stories that I can. So I just recently joined Story Rockets. So if you're anyone, especially that's interested in learning how to write for movies and so forth, screenplays, Story Rockets is a great place to go to. And I just did a workshop with them, and they were absolutely phenomenal. And you don't have to have already written a screenplay. If you have a good idea, the people will help you figure out what group to be with and help explore how to begin the process of screenwriting. So again, that's Story Rockets. I joined recently another group called Inkers Con. It's run by these young girls, and one, it's just fun to watch them because it reminds me when I was younger with computers and trying to get people to embrace how to use this technology. And here are these young girls trying to get people to embrace social media and how to get out there and how to market with Facebook and all the different ways. So I've enjoyed that group and have met in the background just people from all different walks of life and different parts of the world, which is exciting to me. And because I just believe we're all part of one giant world and so forth. And so I still have a lot to learn. And so I do that. There's also ways to figure out marketing. And I've discovered that being on different radio shows has been quite nice. And Authors Marketing Guild, which I'm part of, which I probably should have said first since they're hosting the whole event. So Authors Marketing Guild is phenomenal, and everything I've learned about them, and mostly the confidence that they give me. So between the Authors Marketing Guild and OC Publishing, I could not be speaking about being an author if it wasn't for them being in the background, teaching me and giving me the confidence to be strong and be proud to be an author. And so I can't say enough about them. For the, if you do become part of the Authors Marketing Guild, and you don't have to have your books published, you could be in the process. Because you have to remember that once you've written the story, you are an author. Once you've told a story out loud, you are a storyteller. And matter of fact, we are all storytellers every single day. We tell stories. It's just, do we have enough confidence to say it in front of a crowd? And that's actually a workshop that I'm going to be doing really soon that I'm excited about. So in Authors Marketing Guild, when you're a member, they have a radio show called Indie Radio, and you automatically get one radio show for free within. And I've done several now, and I'm very excited to learn that process and be on the radio. And you sit there and you go, is anyone listening? Is anyone listening? And then all of a sudden, you know, you get a couple of emails and you're like, oh my gosh, there really were people listening. So that's exciting. I've been on a show called Dr. Jacqueline. She has several shows, and her shows are phenomenal, and I'm actually learning a lot from her as well. And she works very hard to get her market out there. And so if you're on her show, it just opens up a whole new group for you. So anytime you have an opportunity to speak, whether it's in a small group or a large group, take advantage of that. I work real hard to try to find places, though COVID has made it very difficult. We've had to cancel, and I had things so booked up, but hopefully the world will become healthy and we'll all be able to be out in person again. But, you know, don't ever forget about a small bookshop, because small bookshops are wonderful and they love having authors. So I really recommend looking at your local bookshops and even going for a nice drive. And, you know, being a Texas girl, we think driving 3 or 4 hours is no big deal. People in my friends in Rhode Island go, ah, but it's one of our small states, and they're like, 15 minutes is long enough. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can't get out the driveway in 15 minutes in some parts of Texas. What can I say? But anyway, so, you know, just learn the people around you, and just know if you've written that story, there's people that want to hear it and inspire them, because that's why you wrote it. So I can't encourage you enough to do that. And if you want to learn more about that, or have me help you push yourself forward to do that, then please do so. Another group I belong to is the Sam Houston Heritage Society. And no, it has nothing to do with, you know, me writing books. It's me learning. As an author, or even as just a plain human being, we should all be learning. And I love history. I wasn't a very good history student. I wish I would have been better now that I'm older, I realized. But the Sam Houston Heritage Society. It's in Houston, and I grew up outside of Houston in one of what they call suburbs, but they were towns at the time. And I just love everything about Texas history. Texas history is phenomenal because it wasn't always part of the United States. We were our own country. And so, and then one time we were part of Spain and part of some other countries until finally we became part of the United States. So our Sam Houston, actually, he was the first president of Texas when we were our own country. So it's just really fun to go there. He was also a governor of Texas, but when he was in Houston, he had a home there, and you get to go into several of the homes. And it's just I just learned so much from the people there. So I encourage you to join maybe a heritage society in your own area, and you'll be amazed at how much you learn. Also, they have their own bookstores. So, of course, my books have nothing to do with the history of Houston, but I've been able to read some really lovely, lovely children's books, as well as historical books about Houston and so forth. And you have to read in order to write, and you have to appreciate other styles of writing in order really to come into your own. At least that's my humble belief. And then the last one that I belong to is the Society for Children's Authors and Illustrators. And I have a long way to go in learning all about what all they can do. But I will share with you, I went to one of the great big conferences a couple of years ago in New York, and I just was blown away by the quality of people that I met, the authors, from beginning authors to ones that have been around for a long time. I met a friend, Jill Patrick, who I didn't know at the time, and now she's a close friend, and we inspire each other. And if I had not gone to that, I would have lost out, because she's just an incredible human being. But the Society for Authors, for the children's authors and book publishing, they're there to help you. And they have conferences all over the entire United States, as well as small groups. So in Houston, we have a pretty large group. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't been able to get together. But the Society's been excellent about having all types of abilities to learn things, to meet people, and have them online. So that's another place that you might want to check out. So I hope that answers your question. It's probably a little long-winded. Let's see what else we have. So you must take my newsletter. Okay, so someone wrote about my signature, so I must have sent you a private email. So yes, my signature used to not always have all the different little ways to reach out to me on my social media. But I had taken a wonderful class, and actually it was through the Inkers Con that I was just speaking of. And they said, look, when you do your signature, you should have every single way that people can connect with you. Because some people might be really Pinterest people. And so they found you on Pinterest and they connected with you. And then they went and connected and got your newsletter. Someone else might be mostly interested in Instagram and they're following you. And then from there, they go to your newsletter. So everything connects, and it's a way to help build your community. And so that's why I do that the way that I do. I don't do that myself. I have this wonderful person, Amy, who lives in Dubai. She's British. She has what's called Creative Pockets, and she does all the background for me. I write my newsletter, I do the shine, I select everything out, but she puts it all together and makes the magic happen, as well as I told her what I wanted for my new signature, and she tries to make sure that my branding colors and everything work together, because she goes crazy if they don't. The first time that I didn't tell her I was going to try Pinterest. I thought I'll just do it, and I sent it to her to look at before I made them public, and I got this, what are you doing? And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, it's not branded. And I'm like, okay. So that was a huge learning experience. And she said, don't hit publish. Like, okay. So she went and she gave me templates for everything. And I was like, but I used Canva like you said. And she goes, but you didn't brand. And I'm like, okay. So she has it all set up for me. So if you're looking for someone, Creative Pockets, Amy's great because she also helps me learn step by step what to do, because I'm a step-by-step person. Cookbook, step 1, step 2, step 3. So that's Creative Pockets. And that's how I make all that happen. See if I have any more questions. No more questions. Yes, I do Instagram. Oh, here's a question. So yes, I do Instagram. Do I do it correctly? I have no idea. I've taken several classes and it's still all confusing to me. So of course I turned to my branding person, Amy, and I said, Amy, so I took this class and it says that if you're an author, you should just have one that's just for author and it's everything about you. And so don't show them what you're eating today or drinking your coffee at Lisa la 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 la. And then they said, but then do another one that's all about you. And then do another one that's about blah. And then another one about blah. And I'm like, I'll spend all day posting. I can't handle this. What am I to do? And Amy's like, don't listen. I'm like, but. And they're like, just because you take a class doesn't mean that that person knows everything that they're talking about. I'm like, but. Anyway, so yes, I have 2 Instagram accounts. One is that I don't use at all, and I need to just close it. And it was supposed to originally be about family and so forth. And then I have my author one. But I decided to listen to Amy. So you get a mixture of me and my books. So keep following Diane Floyd Boehm, author, on Instagram, because I don't know if you like the way it's branded, but it is a mixture of me. And in a way that kind of makes sense because as my mama would tell you, when I was born, she said, I came out singing, apparently with probably a scream, but she said I went, ah! And so I have to stop. And my 5 brothers, including the little ones, so I'm right in the middle, my older brothers branded me with the word motor mouth because I couldn't stop talking. And my baby brothers were like, is she ever going to shut up so I can say something? Which is the beauty of having a large family, because we all have something to say. But yeah, I've never stopped talking. So, and I have so much to say, and I always have so many ideas, but I want to share with you also in the middle of that idea, this sundown, because wherever we live, we have beautiful sundowns. And I always love to look at the sundown, think about the day, think about the good things that happen. And yeah, there might have been some things that just really got on my nerves. You know, like, did that car really break down again? You know, but in the end, I just want to give thanks because I know that I was blessed because I woke up that morning and I opened my eyes. And whatever happened during the day, that's just part of life. And we're supposed to have ups and downs, and we can have things that go, you know, but I have to, a sundown helps me to try to let it go. So you're going to see always lots of sunsets. And on Pinterest, I have some sunsets, but I hope to have more because I love sharing some of the incredibly gorgeous sunsets that I've seen living in Dubai. I was blessed to live on the side where I got to see the sun down almost every night if I was at home. And of course, sometimes in various parts of Texas, we have beautiful ones where the sun is so big, it's like a huge giant ball. I've got to see the sunset where my publisher lives in Halifax, Canada. And I can't even begin to tell you how beautiful that city is. And again, what inspiration she is. And just their beautiful sunsets over the water. So when you do Instagram, it's not going to be branding. It's just Diane. So that's me in a nutshell. And I just want to thank you for coming today. And you've got to meet actually 2 incredible people in our program and have them speak. So that was a true delight. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. And I look forward to taking one of your classes that you're going to have, or at least I'm going to talk you into it, on audibles. Because I do believe all of us that are authors need to do audibles. I know for a fact, my husband and I listen to so many in the car in our driving. And if you missed her and you had just joined, because I know some of you looking in have, then you will enjoy the how she said, there's new markets like truckers. And I also want to give a big shout out again to Anne for joining me, and I truly appreciate it. And I hope the rest of you have a beautiful day. Keep writing or start writing. And I hope you'll join my newsletter at DianeFloydBain.com. And I should have said this at the very beginning, but hey, make sure you send me your email and I'll have Authors Marketing Guild. They have gifts for people. So until next time, join me real soon and check out the Story Garden as well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Do you send book sales to a company that takes most of your money? Want to earn more money from your book sales? Do you want a bookstore that supports you? Introducing a new bookstore for indie authors and small press, B4R.store. Earn up to 80% of your book sales and learn how to market yourself. B4R.store. Join us for the 6th Annual Authors Marketing Event in Granbury, Texas on July 23rd to the 25th, 2021, where authors share ideas and learn from the professionals over a 2-day weekend. Receive your book marketing certification from the only organization in the world that has been doing it for 5 years, Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-based organization that supports authors from around the world. Learn more at ame.authorsmarketingguild.com. Sponsored by IndieLector.store, a bookstore that pays authors their fair share. Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.